Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Live with Alan R. Greg and our guest Justin from Triumphal Reads. Hello to everyone in the chat room. We had earlier some comments I was making to Campolo. James Holder is here. Hello, James.
Hey.
Julie Hughes is here. She's sitting into my chair, ready to enjoy another fun discussion. All right. So, how are things going for everyone? Anything exciting going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, just trying not to freeze and that kind of thing. I heard like the Dakotas were in the 60s this week, and I was like, "What is going on?"
Just the regular 60s.
I think we finally hit freezing, like 32 the other day, first time in like I think like 4 weeks or something. So,
Yeah, Maine.
not even the cool part.
Now, as I understand, you're pretty close to Canada. You said?
Yeah. So the town, like the library I work in, we have like a border crossing station, like right there. But even like my town, it's probably 20 minutes to get to the border. So.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about mention your new gig. You got a new job, didn't you? Recently.
Yeah. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary apparently this past week. In the email chain. But yeah, I'm pleased. Like I can't. Yeah, I still can't like really like get over it in a way. But yeah, it's very very exciting.
Yeah, it's like pretty important. You're like in charge of the whole library, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm the director, so like my boss is like the town manager, but granted, like we're still like so rural, like it's not like that crazy. I'm the only full.
It's a small library.
Yes, it's incredibly small, like small, for sure.
It's still pretty cool.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Now I've heard a story. There's a library somewhere, it may be New York or Maine, where the building itself crosses over the Canadian state border. So half of the library is in Canada, and half of it is in the United States.
Yeah, I don't know of it in Maine. And I know like, granted, like out in like southwestern Maine, there's a few towns like out in the woods and stuff. But like I know all the libraries like on the northern border, and none of ours do that. We do have a golf course that's part in the United States, and then the back half is in Canada. But
I like that.
When you cross over the border in the golf course,
I think you have to have. I don't golf myself, but I do think you have to like have some kind of something. It's been a lot different though. I will say, like I have a lot of friends that live in Canada, but like work over in the United States and vice versa. And like with everything going on, everything's just much more of a hassle with like random audits and stuff. But
yeah, I remember you didn't need a passport or even like the blue card to go to Canada. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. So we
yeah, it used to be if you just brought your birth certificate, like most people would just be like, ah.
I remember in high school during the early 80s, we took a trip to Canada, crossed into the big Maine. There's a town in Maine where you cross a big border. And they just looked at how many people in the car?
Yeah.
8? Okay. See ya.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, Niagara Falls. I love the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. But I know you're
okay. Yeah, we're just getting rid of our final snow from 3 weeks ago here in Virginia.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It is.
No here.
We haven't actually got like that much snow. I've only had to shovel my roof one time so far, which is pretty obscene, like obscenely low.
Shovel your roof.
Yeah, normally I would say like an average winter. I mean, you got to I'd probably have to do that at 10-ish times in that ballpark. Because if you let the snow just accumulate too much, and then you get some like wet, heavy snow, like people's like roof will like just collapse basically. If you get 6, 7, 8 feet of like snowpack on top of it.
6, 7, 8 feet.
Yeah.
Well, like on a bad year, like I said, this year our snowpack is probably only about 16 inches right now, maybe somewhere, maybe 2. I don't even think 2 feet. So I have seen pictures where like the snow is like it's like the lake effect where it's like up the telephone pole effectively. I've never like personally experienced that, but like I said, I've seen pictures of it being that tall.
Wow.
Right.
But no, like we did have snow on Christmas this year, but so out of the past 4 years, we've had 2 green Christmases, which is also not like impossible, but 2 like almost back to back is like unheard of. So
all right. So let me get to some comments here. I'm having a conversation here about transferring files to his Kindle. I don't want to get into in the live show. If you have Voxer, send me a Voxer message to GEEMONT235, and I'll just send you some messages back and forth. See if we can figure out what's going on with your Kindle. Hello, Constance Campbell.
Hey, Constance.
Hello, Lee.
Hello, Lee.
Oh, she says a big fire block away. Oh, she's probably out in California with wildfires. Those are scary as heck. Really, I was in Washington State where we had a fire less than a mile away from our house. And we walked down the edge of the street. You could see it burning in the trees. And
yeah, but we've had like the sun turn weird orange and so smoky you couldn't see the river going over the bridge.
Yeah. And Lee, I owe you some messages on Voxer. I'll get to them tomorrow. Goatman is here. Hello. Leslie. Books, Gers, and Furs. Hello, all the way from Los Angeles.
LA.
Yep. Julie Hughes. Happy birth to anniversary, Justin.
Julie.
Thanks.
Oh, he figured it out. Cool. Hannah's here. Hello, Hannah. I can only say briefly, but great to see you all together. Angelia is here. Hello, Angelia. Welcome as a guest.
Tijas. Yeah, she was here last week, right? Yeah.
Was it last week? Was it? I guess it was last week.
Yeah.
Yep. My mind can't remember from week to week who was there. Okay. Well, what have people been reading, Justin? Since as you're the guest, you get to go first.
Well, I'm having like a pretty weird, like it's good, but a pretty weird year for me in general. Since about like last summer, I've been trying to read a bunch more fiction just so when I'm talking to the patrons and stuff and people coming in, I felt goofy after the first like 2 months going, yeah, I mean, I don't read like thrillers or mysteries or romance or anything. I just read nonfiction because nonfiction, pretty bottom of the barrel in a public library. So I was like, I'm tired of like doing that. So I've been branching out over the probably since about like last summer, just trying to read a lot more fiction just in general. And I think I read four. I have a goal of reading like 5 books in like a whole slew of different genres this year. And like, so like last month I read, I don't know, what did I read? Abby Jimenez, Frida McFadden, and a bunch of like other, like it's just
popular stuff. Yeah, my dad reads McFadden. She's real popular mystery.
Yeah, I have one of her books that I picked. I have not read it yet though. It's sitting on my shelf.
I'm buddy reading like starting next week. S.A. Cosby, who's got
he's got a good rep. He's got a good rep.
Yeah, crime fiction guy. So,
So Justin,
I
I'm going to
so-
recommend an author if you're reading a lot of newish sort of fiction. Pick up Greg Isles' book Notches Burning.
yeah, it's
Okay.
killer. Pretty violent, but
It's
yeah,
it is a mystery thriller, but it has a lot of social justice
oh yeah,
in the book. That it starts off in the 60s with racially motivated hate crimes and murders, and
yeah.
how that moves up into the, I guess it was early aughts. It's getting kind of old. It's like 20 years old now. So, but still, it's still a great story.
Gets into the Pecker Woods down in Mississippi. The like white, well, I won't spoil it if want to do. We're talking about the double eagles.
Well, if he reads it, he'll find it. He'll discover it.
Yeah. It's good.
I just mentioned because I mean, now the one thing is that Greg Isles politically is kind of left. So,
but you don't really know. Yeah.
Well, you know, Alan, it's pretty obvious. And if you're in like a conservative part of Maine, it may not help to talk about it to your patrons in the library.
Yeah, but he's defending like these white supremacist KKK started way back then, generational white supremacists down in Mississippi. When I say Peckerwood, you know what I mean, backcountry, but they're intelligent. It's great. You know, I forget. My dad doesn't like he hated Blood Meridian. We were talking about that the other day, him and I. But he likes like James Lee Burke. That is pretty violent crime fiction. So people can live in rural parts of the country and still like to read, you know, violent fiction.
Oh yeah, like I said, my county is like super conservative, and the town my library's in, I'm sure, is as well. But honestly, like the vast majority of people, like I can probably think of like a handful that I've even like attempted for whatever reason, like they brought up politics and that kind of stuff. Like I was not gonna lie, I was a little nervous with like all the book banning kind of stuff, like dealing with that. Like I haven't had to have a single challenge since I've been there. And I don't want to say like certain things were like neglected, but like for example, like Mouse, like we didn't have like a copy of. I got that pretty early, you know, stuff like that, and nothing. Like I said, no one's ever challenged anything, to be honest. Though it's funny, like my policy, when I was like reviewing it, I didn't end up like changing it, but it's basically the patron brings up the challenge for whatever reason. And officially, like as the library director, I get like 2 weeks to like review the challenge and like just basically make a fiat decision saying that's really dumb or maybe you're right. And if they appeal that, they have to bring it to the municipal like monthly town council meeting. And honestly, like they are not gonna care. Like they're gonna be like, stop wasting our time, basically, kind of stuff. But so yeah, I've been fortunate, like in that we have like a local newspaper. Like I mean, when I say like I mean it's like the print run's got to be only like a couple hundred tops. But he got in hot water. I keep a copy of it just because like we have records of literally all the serials and periodicals and newspapers that the town has like ever published to like the late 1800s. So I kind of keep it as like as a like historical document. But like he got in hot water because he had like white national, like it was like from New Hampshire, like a white national like group basically doing like a book burning ban. And that was kind of like one of my first like, you know, I don't want to have anything about book burning in my freaking library. It was just, but I just decided to just like archive it like instantly, basically, and whatever. But like I said, the majority of people, those kind of people are not like using. Yeah, if I had to guess. Like I said, I haven't really had any problems.
It makes sense. So Cons is going, I would want to believe that all Justin's patrons are anti-murder. You would hope so. And And Canna has a little point down here. The liberal take is especially about Southern racial issues. So I think it may not be a problem in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe so. Now I know you're a very big nonfiction reader, and I think it was the last week or the week before I was talking about 2 nonfiction books that I read in January.
There you go.
One was a biography of Caesar by Adrian Goldsworthy.
Yep.
And then I read a Midnight on the Potomac.
Oh yeah.
Alan and I both read that one, which is about the last year of the Civil War.
That was good.
And it was. Now I'm going to mention this, and you can sort of put in your 2 cents, is that Adrian Goldsworthy is a very good historian.
Yeah, he's kind of like the de facto like popular Roman historian right now. Right. Like if you just think of like a big name like Augustus, Roman Persia, whatever, he's probably got a book on it. Like Dan Jones is kind of like the medieval version of that.
Yeah.
Like he's basically like the Roman era.
No, my problem was he's a good historian. He's not a good storyteller.
I don't know. He has fiction books as well, so maybe he just likes to like delineate them.
My feeling was I reading is that he wanted this to be a work of history, so he did not want to make any sort of interpretations about Julius Caesar that was not verified in the historical documents, and so it read it's kind of dry to me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. The last one I think I read of his, I want to say was Philip and Alexander. And for anyone who's like followed my channel knows I like rag on Alexander. I hate Alexander the Great. It's kind of like a running joke, but I really enjoyed that one because literally about half the book was his father, Philip. Usually Philip gets like, the first chapter or something, and just kind of glossed over. But he did give him like, his like due credit and stuff.
Yeah, I've never heard of Alexander the Great's father. I never knew his name was Philip.
Philip II. So he was the one that actually like reformed like the Macedonian military a little bit and started actually like pressuring most of the Greek poleis to kind of start like bending the knee and that kind of thing. And that the conquest of like, when we think of Greece, was mostly done like under him, and then that's why like Alexander was able to kind of have a pretty decent like home base to like do his like Persian exploits and that kind of thing.
That's cool. Now again, I definitely want to continue on with Adrian Goldsworthy with his biography of Augustus.
Yeah, I have that one, but I haven't read Augustus, but I do have that one.
Because what happened is that I'll point it out here. Is I have this novel about Augustus by John Williams.
I just got this like the other day.
Wow.
This was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I have a little stack of books over here. Mostly because like I've been, I talk about fiction, like branching out, and we were talking about classic, and everyone goes, you gotta read Stoner.
Oh.
And then so I look up the author, and I'm like, he's got a couple books. I'm not gonna read Butcher's Crossing. Westerns just have like no appeal to me. I'm like, he's got historical fiction of Rome. What is going on? I'm gonna be obstinate and read Augustus before I read Stoner.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. Is I was gonna get the book of Augustus, and I was reading some reviews, and the review said, well, Augustus is really a continuation of the biography of Julius Caesar. He sets up all the details and it just flows through. They said you really have to read Julius Caesar before you read Augustus.
Yep.
And now I want to make sure that I read the biography of Augustus before I reread this book.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And he said, just so I can, I have listened to the audiobook 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So I'm going to be reading this last quarter of the year. Because I'm rereading all of John Williams' books. And it's just sort of interesting that you also picked this up.
No, it's hilarious. Like, so I had, like I said, I have my like little stack of just random things to show. So this month was my February was the first month I was allowed to pick the book club book for the library book club.
Mhm.
I could it's mostly like older women, but I knew they weren't gonna like go for too much for nonfiction. They kind of were entertaining it a little bit, but I had a short list, and then they're like, "Well, we could try a shorter book since it's a short month." I'm like, "Oh, I got a perfect one." So I had like A Month in the Country by J.L.
Ooh.
Carr because I read this last year and just absolutely loved it. And I'm like, "You guys,
That's a
trust
good
me,
one.
you guys will like it. Like it's so good." And I figured since I bought this, I donated my copy to the. That's the thing too. We're such a rural library. Like our budget's not like amazing. Like half my books are just gonna eventually just kind of like like turn into like the library books and stuff. But so I donated my copy. But I was like, I like this one enough that I want my own copy again. And then I was like, I happened to like see this like right next to it, and I was like might as well. Like,
pay attention to NYRB Classics websites. Twice a year, they have 40% off sales where you can order. If you order like 4 books, you get 40% off each book.
Yep.
And if you order $75 worth, you get free shipping. So for me, like it's like I have to do it twice a year.
Yep. Yeah, I'm that way with the Princeton University Press. Usually they have a Valentine, like their Valentine's sale is usually the big one. They didn't do it last year. They did it like in October, and it's usually 75% off. It's not the whole catalog, but there's a couple thousand books usually like in there, and that's where I get like a ton of my nature books, just because those types of things generally don't go on sales really. They don't have free shipping though, I'm not gonna lie. So
Well, all right. Is that about it for your reading?
I would say so that's like the fiction part of things. Like I'm still reading a lot of nonfiction, but my compromise was, since I'm branching out into like a bunch of different, like like I never read romance, don't read thrillers, but I am now. I'm like, I'm gonna do like my comfort reads for like nonfiction. So with like history, I'm reading, my plan is to just read lots of like Greek stuff, like ancient Greek types of stuff.
You like Herodotus?
I do. I've read Herodotus before. I got a couple like just kind of goofy ones. Let's see. Like I read Plato and the Tyrant in the Historathon Discord. We had like 9 people, I think. Buddy read Plato and the Tyrant. But like a couple that I want to get to. This we got Circumference here. This is about Eratosthenes, who was he ran the Alexandrian library for a little while. And he calculated the circumference of the Earth to within like a couple percentage points.
That's pretty cool for back then.
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I got this book on Diogenes because I only know him really from like memes and that kind of thing. He was like the OG cynic. So I don't know how much I actually know about him is actually like based on anything real. So I want to read this one, stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, cool. What about you, Alan?
Well, reading Sherlock Holmes, the West End Horror. I know you read that earlier this month, and I never got to the 7% Solution. I thought I'd read it, but so I'm reading those. And I'm reading a good Margaret Atwood book with Gavin Oryx and Craig.
That's a good one.
Yeah, or I've heard Oryx and Craig is top tier.
Yeah, it's really wild. Now, I don't know if she's in Pat. She didn't. It was that there's like child abuse in it, but
right. Now it's coming back to me. There is some very strong abuse in that book.
Yeah, but it's like dystopian, isn't it? Because it
is.
Yeah,
it is. And you know what's funny about Oryx and Craig? I have a funny story.
Okay.
When I was living in Washington State, we had an in-person book group, and some of the people in the group mentioned that they'd never read science fiction before. And the moderator of the group was a big science fiction fan like me. And we decided we were going to read a science fiction book in the group. And we went back and forth. Do you want to do a classic science fiction book or do you want to do a science fiction book that sort of crosses over to the literary domain? And we went with Oryx and Crake.
Yeah.
And just about that time, there was a podcast, a science fiction podcast. I don't remember where, but they were doing Oryx and Crake. And there was one member of that group who almost quit the podcast and refused to read the book. He says, that book is not science fiction. This is a science fiction group.
Yeah.
And then I found another literary group online that had picked Oryx and Crake like us. And there are people who are saying, that book's science fiction. We're a literary group. We can't read that book. And so I'm going like,
that's what you mean. I can
okay,
still
some
hear
of you won't read it because it's science fiction, and some of you won't read it because it's literary. And
yeah,
eventually what we discuss is a book can be both literary and science fiction at the same time.
Yeah, it's a good crossover.
It is.
Yeah, I like Margaret Atwood. I've read The Edible Woman. I haven't read Lady Oracle, though. I haven't. Look at this old picture of her. It's like when
a long time ago.
Grad school. But yeah, I love Cat's Eye. Cat's Eye by her.
I have not read Cat's Eye.
You haven't?
No.
I remember it being good. That was back when they had like literary guild book clubs in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they still had those. I wish they still had them for albums too. Yeah. Columbia Records. Anyway.
Well, look, Alan, you were just talking about Oryx and Crake, and here pops in Pat. She must have had her ears burning.
Yeah. Yeah,
Pat, Alan was just discussing Oryx and Crake that you're reading that together. Or we're not reading it together.
I'm reading with Gavin.
Gavin.
Yeah, I've been chatting with Pat about it. Then I'm trying.
Go ahead. I gotta get.
Okay. Let's see. Reading some Billy Collins, this poetry book, his new one about dogs. It was a gift from a friend in St. Louis. I read a poem from it last week. It has watercolors of dogs in it. It's a good book. So I've been reading like a poem a day. This is my main one, Gravity's Rainbow. We're getting to the end of it.
I've just finished chapter 3 or part 3 today.
Okay, good. So you're on track. I thought you had finished it.
No.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. So
yeah, I thought about joining that, but like I said, that would have taken up probably all 4 of the fiction books that I read.
Yeah, it's also really rather bizarre and complicated in section 3. I'm not sure I like section 3, but it's very weird.
Mm.
Yeah, it's violent. It's grotesque. Thick. It's. Oh man, it's all the above. I feel accomplished having read it at my 3rd time, and it's like getting to be an old copy of. I had to tape it up because it tore. It's going to be like a copy of my Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake.
Yeah.
All annotated up. But hey, I'm reading some nonfiction about tarot. It's about tarot, but I like something I've never strayed away from too far in like 45 years. I was reading tarot when I was 15 years old. 16, had friends reading tarot. And I guess I'll leave with this. I'm getting ready to read The Prisoner of the Devil, or not The Prisoner of the Devil. I have it on Kindle. Now, have you read that, Greg? That's a Sherlock.
I have not. I have to finish. I'll hold it up later. I have to finish one book before I get started on The Prisoner of the Devil.
Yeah, I'm going to wait till last week. Then we're going live with the.
I think we're going live on the 28th.
27th, I thought.
27th? Okay, 27th. That makes sure I read it. I don't think it'll be a problem. I think it'll be a quick read.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of started it, but I'm going to start over. that's about what I've been reading. You talking about. I'll kind of be glad when February is over and getting into some March stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yates for me, and it's like St. Patrick's month and St. Patrick's Day month. But
yeah,
that's about it.
All right. Well, I got a couple things to show. I read Logic Comics, An Epic Search for the Truth. This is a graphic novel about Bertrand Russell. You both know who Bertrand Russell is?
The philosopher?
The philosopher mathematician.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a fictionalized biography of him growing up, getting educated in mathematics and philosophy. It's all situated around him giving a lecture during World War II. America is just getting ready to enter the conflict. He's giving this lecture, and these peace activists saying, can you swear to say we won't enter the war, that it's unjust for America to enter the war? He
was British, wasn't he?
He was British.
Yeah.
But this is all about his talk about how he grew up as a philosopher and eventually gets to his opinions on World War II. Because during World War I, he was a staunch pacifist, saying there is no excuse for us going to war. And it's not going to be a big, but this is his justification on why his early opinions were not correct for the current, well, what would have been the current times during World War II. So you don't really see a lot of graphic novels about philosophers and mathematics. The authors say this is, they don't want to call it nonfiction because they say it's more like a historical novel where they stretch some points, where there was a mathematician that Bertrand Russell really admired in his youth, and they had him go meet him in an insane asylum where he was being held and writing his final documents. So it has that kind of information, but it's kind of interesting. And parts of this, I scratch my head and go, wow, because I am not a mathematician. And it gets to some very heavy mathematics. So it might be interesting to people who like that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it. Another one I just finished, and I'm actually going to be...
I should read more graphic novels. I'd like to read more comics and graphic novels.
Well, this is not your traditional graphic novel. By a lot.
Yeah, biography and.
But I'm going to be discussing this book with Gavin on Wednesday. We're going to do a buddy. We did this as a buddy read.
Oh.
This is Sinclair Lewis's "It Can't Happen Here." This is not one of his best novels. It was written in 1935 as a reaction to what was going on in Italy and Germany, and the rise of the Nazis and the rise of the fascists, and what would happen if there were a fascist rising in the United States and the fascists took over. This is a polemic novel. It is essentially a warning to the United States that even though the title is "It Can't Happen Here," that it can happen here. And it's very eerie when you compare it to what's going on in the United States right now. Now, part of that is that Sinclair Lewis based his fascist uprising on Hitler and Mussolini, and our current government sort of is borrowing heavily from Hitler and Mussolini. So there's a lot of parallels. It's, as I said, it's not what I call a good novel because the characters are thin, writing's kind of sloppy, but it's a lot of food for thought. And a lot of people should have read this before 1916 and understand how people can fall for demagogues. So I can recommend it for that. Not exactly as a good novel. But I'm also reading, I'm only about halfway through Runaway Horses by Yukio Mishima. This is his famous tetralogy. Of course, originally written in Japanese, translated into English. And it follows a character named Honda. The first novel was when he was a young boy, and his best friend who fell in love with a woman outside of his class. I won't get into the story, but in this one is like 18 years later when he's a middle-aged judge, or not middle-aged, 35-year-old judge, and he thinks he's found the reincarnation of his friend, who is getting into, let's just say, some extreme politics, trying to restore the original Japanese empire. Through the sense of honor. So it's, again, I don't know that much about Japanese culture, so parts of this book are a little bit lost on me, because the translator does not translate the Japaneseness out of this in the book. You just have to figure it out yourself or look it up on Google or AI. And I'm running this as a group with Chris at Liminal Reads. It's pretty good. So that's what I've been reading.
All right.
So let's get back to some comments. Lee, hold on. I have a couple friends who have taken his class at Cambridge. He is the big cheese. Is that Adrian Goldsworthy? Is he teaching at Cambridge now, or is he still in England?
I don't keep track of what.
Bibliophile Reads. Hey guys, I'm glad to have Justin on. He is such a great channel.
Thanks. I think that's. Was that Mike or Matt? I think so.
Oh, I have it on my Voxer. I can't. If I look at it, I'll remember the name off the tip of my tongue.
I think it's Mike. Yeah, with the beard.
I'm not positive.
If I remember correctly.
Lee Kemper says, Greg, I'm reading The Philosopher's Alice. Interesting looking up Alice and then cross-referencing all the Horace comments. Okay. Hannah says, Cat's Eye was my favorite of hers back in the day.
Yeah.
Pat says, yes, you conquered me.
Oh, yeah.
Angelia, really like Alias Grace too. Constance says, Greg, what PKD books are you reading this year and when? You might have both of those available, but we're doing Valis and Radio Free Albemuth.
Yeah, I can't wait to read them both, but I've never read this.
No, well, the story behind this is that PKD originally wrote Radio Free Albemuth, and he got a first draft or second draft, and he decided it just wasn't working as a novel, and then he rewrote it as Valis.
Yeah.
And then after he passed away, someone found the original manuscript and said, this is actually pretty good. And they published it as its own book. So,
yep, I read Valis once before. It's really good.
It's a really strange, thought-provoking book. It's just not your typical. I mean, it's almost not even science fiction.
More psychological and like he's crazy. He's not crazy. What do you think?
The psychology of a mad science fiction author.
Yeah. Is it real? Did it really happen or not? There's all kinds of questions.
Well, back to content. We have not decided when we're going to read it. I'm guessing after August.
Yeah, later in the year.
And I'm not sure what order we should read the books in. Do you want to read Valis first, because that's his published novel, and then go back and read Radio Free Albemuth and say this is what he was trying to do? Or do you want to go back and read the original draft first? I'm kind of thinking
original.
What?
I think original first. What do you think?
Well, I think it would help us once you understand what he was eventually trying to do with Valis. You could see that maybe in the original, that this is what he's striving to do and didn't succeed at doing. But that's all up in the air. We don't know yet.
Yeah, that's it's interesting, curious. I can see you doing it like that.
But that's all up. Haven't decided. Some Okie dude is here. Hello.
Hey, Brighton.
Thanks, Alan. Got a screenshot. Okay.
Oh.
All right, we're out of comments. Yay. All right. So now Justin, are you doing Historathon this year? Or do you do that every year?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-hosts now, so I do it every year. Like I said, I try to branch. Well, I normally I try to branch out a little bit more, but I think I am, even though I said I wasn't going to. I did just pick up a book on like ancient, like classical history China somewhere. I didn't put it on my desk, but I think I got it here. And like that's like something I know like nothing of really. So it's usually just a good opportunity to try to. So this is called like To Rule All Under Heaven: A History of Classical China from Confucius to the First Emperor. But like I said, I just feel like it'd be like a good counterweight to like all my like Greco-Roman stuff I always read. So, I did do a buddy read with some friends. We read Penelope's Bones by Emily Hauser, and like all four of us, like we finished it, and like I don't think a single one of us like enjoyed it. We probably should have just scratched it, but it was supposed to be like, it has a great premise. It's like taking like the Homeric stuff and using all the different female characters and stuff, and trying to like learn more about like women's history during that time period. But it was very like kind of holding our hand and condescending in a way. Like on like motherhood, it was like even ancient women mothers felt sad like when infant mortality happened and stuff, and you're just like, I don't think that was like ever like a question or like anyone's like arguing against that and stuff. But yeah, but my problem is basically just a history of like the late Bronze Age and like trying to shoehorn like female Greek like mythical people into it and stuff. But
I have a book here that I'll hold up. I don't think I'll get to read it for this part, but this was sent to me by Lee. Lee is in the comment section. At least she was. This is a history of the Roman Empire and 21 women. Apparently, this author, Emma Southern, was in a class teaching Roman history, and someone asked, "What about the women in Roman history?" And the professor says, "There are no important women in Roman history." And I guess
now she's an interesting historian. I've read she's got like 3 or 4, maybe 3 books now, maybe more. But she's very what's the word? Like her history is good, but she would like some people, like I don't care. I actually find it kind of good. It's like a breath of fresh air when a historian writes in like a super like it's pretty crass, like swearing and like all kinds of crazy stuff, like for a history book, you know. I read her book on like Agrippina, and I thought that was like really good. She's also good. A fatal thing happened on the way to the Forum or something like that, if I remember. But I really enjoy her stuff.
Well, that gets back to my question when I brought up about Caesar and the author not being a good storyteller. And the other book I read was Midnight on the Potomac, about the last year of the American Civil War. And that author is less of an historian, but he's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
And that's...
Oh, go ahead.
John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah. I mean, he had a really fascinating chapter on John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah.
That we both read it. And here, Justin, let me just throw this out. Was John Wilkes Booth a good actor?
I have no idea. Like, not gonna lie, like so I can count the number of Civil War history books I've read on my hand.
Okay, you don't know. Okay, you don't know this. Okay, but
no.
But the belief that's been put into people since the film, what was that film? The very racist film.
Yeah. I always forget about it too.
It was very early.
Griffith.
W.D.B. Griffith wrote the name is on the tip of my tongue.
I know.
But
the Union, something about the glory of the Union.
Something like that. But the idea was that John Wilkes Booth was a hack actor.
Mm.
And he committed the assassination because he couldn't succeed on the stage.
Yeah, I've never heard that theory, so I don't know.
This book can point out that John Wilkes Booth was actually one Birth of a Nation. There we go.
Yeah, you beat me.
There we go.
Beat me.
But this one point out that he was one of America's predominantly famous actors at the time. Everyone looked forward like oh, he's a great actor. He'd been like the
Shakespearean actor, yeah,
of the day.
Mm.
So that's something that history has changed over time. That we
always thought he was a hack actor
because it fit the narrative that the Birth of the Nation wanted to show, that the South was actually the good guys.
Mm.
You know, so
I've heard so much Lost Cause stuff in my time. Yeah. Like I grew up in Florida and stuff and all that. You know, it's just it's just the halftime and blah blah blah. All that kind of.
I didn't grow up in Florida, but my cousin did in Daytona and New Smyrna Beach, and we'd go down 75 all the time from Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a soft spot for Florida too. I almost went to a university up in Gainesville. Back when Harry Cruz taught there, and Paget Powell and Donald Justice, the poet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Daytona Beach.
But that goes back to this. When I read nonfiction, I'm not a historian looking to find the subtle differences in between history books. Like they discovered something new and want a slightly new theory.
Yeah, there's definitely different like styles. Like I can just think like Atkinson and like Larson, like they're like narrative storytellers, just using like the primary sources to do it. And then there are people that are just like, you know, they're interested in like whatever topic and they're just gonna like write about it, if that makes sense. Kind of, but yeah, there are quite a few different styles, but yeah, some are definitely a lot drier than others. It also depends too. So like a lot of the history books that I read sometimes now are not even like a lot of history books, like when they're narrative like that, it's kind of chronological just because it's like a story, right? But like a lot of the stuff I read is more like thematic than telling a story, if that makes sense. Like social history is like my favorite kind of history, which is just like how did like regular people actually like live their life and that kind of thing. And a lot of times you can't. There are also ones that are most of the time written out of history, so you have to like interpret like other stuff with like the archaeology and what have you. So a lot of times you can't really have like a story or even like a chronology really with that kind of thing either. Now with something like Caesar, you could be able to. I've read quite a few books on Caesar too. Like he probably even wanted just to have like kind of the, if I had a guess, with like the way Goldsworthy, like I've read like I think maybe 3 of his works. Like he kind of wants just like the gold standard on like this topic, just as like the authoritative kind of no nonsense sort of boom. Because there's like Marxist interpretations of like Caesar, for example, and like his assassination, and you know he kind of gets all like all over the place. So he probably just wanted the, you know,
he wants to show that he knows history, and that has its place.
Compared to like somebody like that, Harris is more like narrative, right?
Yeah, that's pure fiction.
That's fiction, yeah.
And he mentioned Colleen McCullough wrote a huge series of.
Yeah.
He mentioned her. He says, "Okay, she's a good novelist, but you know, and pretty." She actually says she did a pretty good job with her history. That she doesn't, you know. But for me, it's more interesting to read about the people and how they interacted than trying to, like you said, the gold standard of history. But I'm still going to pick up Augustus on his biography because I have to do that.
Yeah,
I like Larson too. He's got some newish ones I want to read. The Civil War one.
I'll say that's one of the handful of Civil War books that I read is The Demon of Unrest. No, like a lot of American history. I don't like unless it's like contemporary, like like my the last generation, like this generation. I don't really care too much about like American history, as goofy as that like sounds. So like the Civil War, like I know there's like a lot of people that are just like Civil War buffs and like World War II buffs, and I'm just that does like nothing for me. But that's just me being. I have read a few more Revolutionary War stuff for whatever reason. Like they've just been coming out, and I've read them with people and stuff, and that's where I got Atkinson from. He's probably more famous for his like Liberation trilogy for World War II, but he just put last year he came out with the second book in like a Revolutionary War trilogy, and they've been pretty well done. So, yeah.
All right. Let's see. Constance says, I thought Booth's dad was supposed to be a good actor. Leslie just finished Perdido Street Station by China Mieville. That was a doozy. Yeah, that's a pretty good book too. He wrote some very interesting fantasy and science fiction books. I think he's no longer writing. I don't think he's published a book. No, he did publish a book a year ago, but he wrote it with some actor.
Oh.
And but he wrote some, like the Perdido Street Station is good. He has some other books in that series, which he said mentions The Scar is a good follow. I've not read The Scar.
Yeah, it looks like a big one, Leslie.
Yep, and
big book.
He has some very interesting science fiction books, The City in the City, and there's the big famous one about visiting an alien planet. It'll come to me in a second. But City in the City was real. I won't spoil it, but it's basically someplace in the future, alien planet, where the idea is that there are two cities that have very opposite viewpoints of how things should be run, and they exist parallel to each other in different dimensions. But there are holes that you can wander. Sometimes you can wander into the other city.
Oh.
Now there is a trick to that. I'm not going to say what that trick is because you want to read the book yourself if you think you might be interested in it.
Sounds intriguing.
It's a doozy. Fair enough. PSS is a doozy. Okay, there we go. Justin, are most good history books written in chronological order?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's like a requirement. I guess it depends on like what the topic and like kind of what the author is trying to achieve. Kind of like what I was saying with like the social history stuff. Like I just read this one in here called An Enchanted World, the shared religious landscape of late antiquity. That's just basically how did like all the different kind of burgeoning Christian sects, Jews and like pagans in like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th centuries, how did they like live their life as far as like lived religion and stuff? Like there's not really a way to chronologically do most of that kind of thing. It's more just like studying the mosaics and like a few like different like kind of scriptural references or like different things and stuff like that. So and I thought it was I really enjoyed it. But if it is like on like a specific person, like if it's a biography, I have seen like books where they try to like do it more interestingly, more artistically, and sometimes that doesn't pan out, like when it's not in chronological order. I have seen that before. So I would say like if it's like a a nailed down kind of event or person, it probably makes the most sense to do it chronologically for most people. But if it's more of a thematic kind of book, or more of a conceptual style book, then it would probably actually be really hard to even try to do it chronologically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever Have you ever read any books on ancient Ireland, the Celts?
Yeah. So, oh geez, I've read Nora Chadwick's The Celts. The Celts are kind of, especially like in pop culture, like the ancient like historical Celts and like Celts, like in kind of like just like common parlance, are like totally different. Um, but one I will say not to recommend is How the Irish Saved Civilization. But
You know what?
I cannot stand that book. Like,
I read it a
or
long
it's
time.
more that it's so hyped up, and it's
Yeah.
literally, hey, some Irish monks were like copying down text by hand, and a lot of other monks were also doing that on the mainland. And also, even if they probably didn't do it, all the Byzantine monks probably did more than they did. But
Yeah.
no one wants to read how the Byzantines of the whatever saved civilization. Like, yeah, I'm sure there probably were a few that only the Irish like monasteries like did have, but in the grand scheme of things, it was kind of like negligible, probably, like to say like they saved civilization. Nora Chadwick's The Celts. If you for like scholarly stuff, Barry, I think it's Barry Cunliffe has a couple of good books on like Druids and Celts and that kind of thing, like the historical ones.
What's the last name?
Cunliffe. I think it's Cunliffe. Hold on, I might have one of his books. Yeah. Okay. So this one isn't like specifically Celt, but I'm going to go on a side tangent. So this is the Extraordinary Voyage of Pythias the Greek. So he was a Greek from Massalia, which is Marseille, France today, and he wanted to do some research in ethnography, and he went up like the European rivers, at least went around the British Isles, and documented his stuff. He had a pretty famous work called On the Oceans. It's lost to us, but a lot of other writers referenced it, so we know like this actually did like happen. And based on, unfortunately, because we don't have it, like there are references. He might have he talks about Thule, like the ancient Greek version of Thule, which is probably Iceland. It's not super clear if he really got that far, or if it's maybe like the Orkney Isles or something.
Okay.
But anyways, he like I said, this author also has a bunch of books on like the peoples that like Pythias like would have met, like the Iceni in Britain, and all those like kind of peoples are like the OG like Celts, and like how they kind of like live their lives and that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm trying to think anyone else off the top of my head. I could probably like send you a message, like, or I could probably blast it in the Historiathon Discord. That's the good thing, that Historiathon Discord I think it's like 400 something people now. So
Wow.
usually there's people like some people. Sometimes you can just like ask a random, does anyone got any good books on X, Y, or Z topic, and then someone will come out of the woodwork with, hey, I read, whatever, and it's something like super niche. But when you have enough people, like there's enough like kind of just like different points to like gain like recommendations from and stuff. So
400 people on the Discord, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Boy, I've never experienced anything like that. That must be pretty wild.
I'm sure there's a way to like look it up. I'm just not 100%. Server settings, probably.
I've never dealt with more than like. How many do you have on yours, Greg? Like,
I don't know.
50?
I don't pay attention. I'm not 400.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean.
I mean, the most we've ever had is about 20 in a group, and usually start off with like 20, and then people just start drifting away because they don't finish the book or they don't like it, and you get down to 5 or 6 people talking about it, which is fun. Excuse me.
Obviously, yeah, like not everyone's like super active and that kind of thing, but this year definitely had like our biggest kind of like, we always get like a little bump like at the beginning of each quarter when all of us put out our like pile of possibilities and stuff.
Yeah.
But like this year, like in December and January, we probably gained like 100 people, I'd say, or at least maybe not 100, but probably pretty close, at least like 70, 80, something like that.
I was part of Historathon a couple years ago. I read like 3 books. I didn't read every quarter. I always have trouble with the third quarter. I never find anything that really interests me in the.
Yeah, third quarter is my weakest one probably too, I would say.
But this year I just so happened to quarter 1 is done for me because I did ancient Rome. So
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
and so maybe I'll come up with something and see not officially, join in, but see what I can find.
Yep. No, can't remember. Was there another part of the kilt question, Alan? I can't remember.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks.
So, come on! Aren't the founding fathers? That I have read, or was reading presidential biographies in chronological order a couple of years ago, and I got finished. I ended up with Monroe, and I was gonna have to pick up some John Quincy Adams, and I never did. I have some books, biographies about him. I never got to it.
Oh, you've read the David McCullough, haven't you?
I think I read 1776 like 1,000 years. I don't know. David, I don't know. Like David McCullough, like
he's
that kind of stuff. Like I said, like he's got like the one about like the settling of the West, and I think like the Mississippi River barge. I read a book on the Mississippi River, but not like that has a lot of like American history like thrown into it, obviously. But no, I don't know. There's just something about American history that's just generally not. I don't know. It's just not. It doesn't like. It just doesn't interest me.
Not all history is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say like things do change because I'm talking about like quarter 3. I used to hate quarter 3, like it kind of always kind of just becomes like like beginning of like not beginning of Europe, like European like nationhood and that kind of thing, 1500 to 1800. But I joined a buddy read, and we read I think it's Robbie Ritchie, something like that. His book on the Enlightenment. It's like 1,000 pages, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it just to say like I'm gonna read one and I'm done forever. But it was like a fantastic book. You think I could find it? It's 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
Richie Robertson, not Robbie Ritchie, but it's monstrous. And it was like fantastic, and everyone loved it. So. There's that, and then I read last year. The biggest book I read last year was this. It's kind of the same thing. Like Renaissance is usually like kind of something I'm like, kind of like hem and haw about. I read this monster to kind of be like the same thing, but for the Renaissance era. And this was really, really good because it covered art and stuff too, but it covered like all the different kinds of arts, but like kind of scientific development, even how like governments changed during the Renaissance, like bureaucracy, obviously like the like double booking accounting and all that kind of stuff, and how that actually like was, really big and important, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, things do change because I would have, before I did BookTube, I would never have read a 1,000-page book on the Renaissance or the Enlightenment. Like just like would not have happened.
Yeah, BookTube is crazy good. Like a lot of things like that.
And I will say, like with some of the bigger ones too, like I've been finding like when I do a buddy read on a topic that I'm like new to, is like goes usually a little bit better because they can kind of point out, hey, this isn't like super mainstream or something, or they can kind of point me in the right direction sometimes or whatever. If there's any pitfalls and what have you. So I think buddy reads in general are just underrated now.
They are. I mean, I actually think I like private buddy reads better than large group reads just because you're just talking in the background with someone.
No, yeah, like there's one group, there's me and 4 others. And we've probably since that first one, the Enlightenment one, Penelope's Bones, I think, was probably like our 8th one. It's more just like agreeing to like, cause we more just like talk back and forth like all the time. It's just like agreeing to like pick a book that we all like are like willing to like take a stab at. But so, like I said, it's just really fun.
Yeah.
And he said, Lee was saying she's reading Beauty by Roger Scruton. Very interesting since we are reading Ugly.
Oh no, not Roger Scruton. Oh no. I've read a couple of his
reading
work.
on Ugliness, Lee. Sort of slacking off. Their feuds and bickering is of legend. Oh, China Miéville is coming out with a new book. Interesting. And here's Leslie. Yeah, he wrote a book with Keanu Reeves.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that is something that would incite me to pick up a book saying Keanu Reeves is the.
Oh, I like him.
He's an actor.
I know, but I don't really necessarily like his acting. I like him as a person. He seems real down to earth. He carries his own luggage. I've seen like short videos of him being down to earth. He plays bass in a band.
Doesn't mean he's going to be writing a good novel.
Yeah.
Okay, Bibliophile reads. I've gotten loads of great nonfiction from Justin's videos. Me too, says Lee. Justin, is there a book you are especially excited to read coming out this year?
I usually don't keep track of like new releases more than like a month-ish in advance. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Give me like 1 second. Like I have bring up my file that has them. Because usually like just when I'm like perusing like online and stuff, whenever I see something, I'll just like kind of like add it. Yeah, I don't know if I'm seeing like anything that like I'm like it's like a must absolute read. Sorry. Like I have a lot, but like nothing that like I guess I would like probably put too much higher than anything else. I don't really have any authors, I guess, that there's very few. Or I would say like Carl Safina and like Bernd Heinrich would probably be like the only two like authors. Like if I know they have a book coming out, like that would be one. So if one of those two have one, that'd probably be it.
Immediate buy.
But other than that, yeah, I don't have too many that are like kind of like in that category. Sorry.
Yeah, my neighborhood library opened after a remodel a few months early, and I'm excited about that because they started the what's it called? The Lucky Day. You can go and get a new release for 2 weeks. That's where I got my new release recommendations from. They do it in all genres. Plus, like in my holds, I don't have to take 2 buses to pick up anymore.
So Lee says, Greg, did you know that P.G. Wodehouse wrote books that were not Jeeves? Hold on. This is something fresh. Actually good. I know he wrote some, but Jeeves is what he's known for. Ooh, I love the burnt orange cover. Not sure which book she's talking about.
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe
that one. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yay, Pythias.
Okay. What is the best Jefferson biography? There's a lot of Jefferson biographies. My favorite is an older biography. It's called In Pursuit of Reason by Noble Cunningham. It was probably 60s or 70s. So I'm sure it's been superseded, but I really liked it. There is a 7-volume biography by someone.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really detailed biography.
I'm sure people that like that really like that. So.
Yes, I have a feeling it'll be dropped.
No, go.
I think it'll be dropped.
I will say, I do read books on Theodore Roosevelt. That is like I have like 4 or 5 of them. like that's like one president I do kind of read about.
Okay. Here's what. What is your favorite Roosevelt book?
I mean, I do think the Edmund Morris trilogy is just like top tier. I will say probably if I had to like just pick like just a single one though, I have one here. He famously when he was like younger, he went to like to rough it like in the Maine woods, and there's some like what's his name, Wardwell I think it was. No, can't remember. There's a famous like Maine guy that he like went with through like my county and like and stuff, which is pretty cool. But if I had to just like pick one, it'd probably be like this one, which is called The Naturalist, A Lifetime of Exploration and the Triumph of American Natural History. And it's just kind of like it just takes the lens of like all his like conservation and like wildlife types of efforts that he was like known for, and that's kind of like the focus of that book. And that's obviously like what I like with like.
Yeah. Now, have you ever read The River of Doubt?
I have it. I have not read that one. I've heard it's like really good.
I mean, you know the premise.
Yeah. The Amazon River disaster.
Exploring an uncharted tributary of the Amazon.
Yeah.
Ex-president of the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just sort of amazing that he had that much what would you call it? Chutzpah? Guts?
Just moxie, if you're from Maine.
Good, yeah.
I've read a couple of books like on the I have a what was that one called? Can't remember. I read a book where they basically got like lost. It was like more modern. I think it was like during like the 70s, and they basically like rafted, like just they got stuck like in the flood basin. I think like during the wet season, and they were just like lost in the middle of like nowhere. But they made it out somehow. I can't. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, there's a good John Grisham book about the Amazon like that.
Okay, Anna Field, I think. I can't quite. I don't have my reading glasses on. John Quincy Adams autobiographies published by Library of America are interesting. Okay. There was a short one-season show on Apple TV called Manhunt. It was a great show on Booth and the Lincoln assassination.
I would have liked that.
David Novak reads poetry. I thought you said famous Maine guy until you said my country. I didn't know what you meant, Justin. All right.
It's the bane of like when you like have to put in an address for Main Street and like it autocorrects to like the state because you've typed in the state so many times too. And that's happened a bunch of times to me.
I bet.
Bibliophile reads this. Hey, Justin, how do I find the historian Discord?
So most of us probably, I usually put it like in my description on my videos. Pretty much all my videos, I'll put like, here's a link to like all the Discords or whatever. And if you just type in like Historathon 2026, any of our announcement videos would have one as well. Sometimes Discord links expire, I think. I'm not 100%. So honestly, like if it's expired and it doesn't work, though, we still have like a trickle of people. So like some people might have like working links, some people don't. If it doesn't work, I would just like leave a comment going, "Hey, the Discord link doesn't work."
Yeah,
and we'll just like update it.
Well, on my channel, I tried to have a never expire link.
Yeah, I do that too because it defaults to 7 days, but I don't think it's never. I think it just goes to like a month or something, maybe.
The invitation.
YouTube doesn't actually like Discord, and now Discord's having their own problem.
Oh no, what's going on with Discord?
Everyone's gonna be. I don't know. I haven't like read into it. I've just like seen blurbs, and maybe I should probably like read before I talk too much. But basically, from my understanding, everyone is going to default to like a teen account. I don't even know what that means. And unless you provide Discord with a government ID to prove that you're of age.
Wow.
Oh,
And we also had a data breach a couple months ago, just so you know.
Okay. Shit.
I don't, like I said, I don't know how that actually impacts people doing like normal, we're talking about books and not like, NSFW stuff. So like, I don't know really what that entails, but yeah.
Well, I'm guessing is that there are some states who are now requiring ID for you to log on to adult websites.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google NSFW. I don't even know what that is.
Not safe, not work
not
safe.
Not safe for work. Yeah.
Oh, well, no wonder I don't know.
No, but what happened? What my guess is what's happening right now is that certain states are saying that they're so terrified of a teenager logging onto a porn site that if you want to log onto it, you have to provide some sort of ID. And I'm going like, I mean, if you're going to log onto a porn site, you don't want to give your ID saying, "Yeah, I'm looking at porn."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even like I've noticed too, because like even like D&D Beyond, which is like kind of like the generic like Dungeons and Dragons website, where you can like save characters and whatever. You have to like type in like your birthday and everything for like that, and like they're pretty like kid friendly now. Like it's not, I don't know. So I feel like you said, I think a lot of stuff is just trying to like cover their bases like preemptively and that kind of stuff.
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard some some weird things go on at Discord, like conspiracy stuff, and I forget exactly what one of the attempted assassinations of Trump was on Discord, something like that. Yeah, it has nothing to do with what you're talking
about. But I mean, like, loads of people are like on Discord and on Messenger and on Reddit and everything. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if you're online, you probably got like most of these things, to some degree.
True.
Mm-hmm. And I was considering picking up Meacham's Art of Power after Steve Donahue's recommendation. I don't even know what Art of Power is.
As long as it's not like the 48 Laws of Power or whatever.
Yeah, Green. Green.
Yeah, Robert Greene. Is Meacham a politician? I don't think I've ever read.
I'm looking it up right now.
I don't think I've ever read a politician like memoir or book or anything.
Oh, the art. Okay. That is a biography. Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. That's not. I read that one. It's not bad. I mean, it's not a very detailed biography. I mean, but he gives you the highlights. Because actually,
I'd read one on like Benjamin Franklin. Like I think he's pretty interesting.
Oh, the autobiography of Ben Franklin is great.
But I don't know. A lot of the other ones, I'm just like,
That's good.
No, I don't know.
I don't. I don't like the modern American history stuff. I read is mostly like journalism and depressing stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Like just like social issues and like current affairs and that kind of stuff. So maybe that's not fair to say like modern American history, but
right.
All right. What other events are people looking forward to this year? Justin, are you looking forward to anything?
Like I said, this year I'm probably I am doing like Historathon, but I'll probably do like, I don't know. I might not have any books for March of the Mammoth. I'm not sure if I have any books over 800 pages right now that I haven't read. Trying to think. I think I'm not really going to do too many like events. I used to try to do one like every like month or two, but I don't know. I think this year I'm just going to be reading, like I said, I'm going to be reading a lot of weird for me, fiction and stuff, and then it's mostly just going to be that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes for you. And
I am going to, like, in my library book club, I am going to try to participate every month, even if it's wonky. Like I said, we read some historical fiction that I'm just like, you know. But like last month was A Confederacy of Dunces, and I had no idea what we were like. None of us had. The person that got to pick it had already read it before, but just kind of said, "Oh yeah, it's just vibey and kind of silly, and it, you know, there's not really plot." And we're like, "Oh, okay, like we'll try it." And that was the weirdest book club meeting I've ever been a part of. Oh,
we love that book here.
I love that book.
I think it was well done. I just like when you got like a whole bunch of like just like kind of like older women, and like none of us knew what it was going into.
Oh,
yeah,
right. What about the character Trixie? That character Trixie, the old female woman who works in the factory.
Oh yeah, poor Trixie. Okay, so like in the book club meeting, I had to explain, like, so my theory here was like, I'm like, you know, the author here, and like, and the whole like real life story of the author and everything, and getting the book published is pretty interesting as well. We talked about that, but
yeah,
I was trying to talk about like Ignatius, right? He's literally like written as like this like weird like incel just neckbeard, like the modern day like incel neckbeard. And I had to explain what that meant to like old women that didn't like understand, you know what I mean, the references and stuff. But like it was very prescient in that way. I thought it was pretty. And then the dialogue is actually like really well done, like how the every character like actually talks and stuff.
Yeah.
Who I like Jones.
Yeah, the jive ass janitor.
The janitor at the.
For trespass.
Working for below the minimum wage or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's great. He's the smartest one in the book.
Maybe so. Yeah. All right. Well, we've been here for an hour and 22 minutes. My voice is beginning to give out on me. It usually does that about an hour and a half. So, any last comments from you, Justin, or from the chat room?
I guess I'll do like one last like pitch for Historathon, since I told him I would. So for anyone who doesn't know, all to participate in Historathon is just to read one history book per quarter of the year, so one history book every 3 months, and we roughly broke it down. Let's see, first 3 months is prehistory to the year 500, then the next 3 months is 500 to 1500, and then 1500 to 1820, which is actually to help with like booktube stuff with like I think like Jane Austen stuff.
Yeah, Jane Austen, July,
and that kind of thing. So you could like kind of work that in there if you want to. And then the last quarter is 1820 to like contemporary times. And like I said, we have a pretty active group. So if you like I said, if you don't know a book on something, you know, we had people like giving up book recommendations for like, you know, for like board games and stuff, you know, because someone wanted that and people have it. So you'll probably find like what you're looking for. So
yeah, so like I said, I just by accident I did the first quarter.
Yeah.
So now I got to think like what 500 to 1500, right?
So roughly, and it is kind of like Eurocentric because that's kind of like roughly the medieval period. But any part of the world counts, and that's kind of actually encouraged and stuff. So
I got to figure out a good one for that. All right, that's good.
Well, thanks.
What kind of weird fiction?
Okay, so yeah, it's not really weird. It's just I almost never read. No, I wouldn't say never read fiction, but when I did the stats, I think my fiction reading was like 30% of my reading last year, which was a huge spike compared to like, you know, sub 10% Like I said, in January, I read 4 fiction books, and for me, I've never read thrillers. Like I've read 2 thrillers so far in my life. Read a romance, like a contemporary romance book. My second cozy mystery, stuff like that. So it's just weird for me because I don't.
Out of your wheelhouse.
Way out of my wheelhouse, yeah. And like I said, it's mostly just so I can talk to the patrons because, like for example, we have there's a main author called Paul Dorian, who is like pretty prominent up here. He's like got like 15 or 16 books, and it's about a Maine game warden doing like basically like the thriller book stuff.
I've heard of him before.
It's pretty big. And most people love it. They read it, and then I have a boatload of patrons that they finished the last book and they go, "Hey, what do you recommend, Justin?" And I'm like, I don't read that stuff, And I felt really dumb after saying that like 10 times. So, or like I want to just like an uplifting, like kind of contemporary fiction like novel. What do you recommend? I'm just like, here's a book on poverty. Like I don't know. So I kind of got tired of like doing that. So like I said, starting I want to say around like July or August, I started reading a couple books a month, and this is also including like YA and like middle school books as well for the kids and that kind of thing. Because that's like my big project with my building this year is like renovating the youth room. So I've been reading like here and there, like some YA and middle school kind of age stuff as well. So, like I said, it's just way out of my comfort zone, I guess, if that makes sense.
Understandable. So one last, David Novak. I came in late. It was fun. Do it again. Well, David, we're here just about every Monday.
Yeah, and this is your second time on the show, I think.
Third.
Yeah, time flies. Third time.
It
Cool.
does.
Yeah, Justin's known for his nonfiction.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, all right, Justin. I want to thank you for coming back on our show.
No
having
problem.
a good conversation, and everyone in the chat room. We're going to get ready to call it a night. Who do we have next week, Alan? I have to go look at my book. Are we off?
I'd have to look too. Let's see. Oh.
Yeah, we'll just figure out who our next guest.
We're off.
We're off. Cool. I like a night off.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's stuff going on in my building downstairs. They do a men's group. It's a Native American where they it's a drum circle, and then people from different apartment complexes. I live in a Native American building, and there's floor in the area, so they come here on Mondays. We have a big community room, and when we're off, I go down there and I have a few Sioux drums. They're the thin ones, but it's good to have a night off.
All right.
Thanks again, Justin.
Well, thanks everyone.
No
we will
problem.
catch you beginning of March. All right. Have a great night, everyone.
Take care.
Good night.
Thanks.